Good morning. You're listening to Winning at Life. Live financial news talk radio on this November 16th, 2024. It's a great day, great weekend. Hey, you know, I'm always the glass half full guy, and I think things are going to go well. If not, we'll pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and keep marching forward. That's regarding your money as well. We got to be positive. We got to be making efforts to move it forward. So on Winning at Life, we try to help you with those concepts right there. Ideas. I've got another number of articles to reference today. Concepts. We'll talk about what's going on this week in the markets that you might need to be aware of, and once again, give you a whole bunch of ideas to help things go better for you. One of the ideas that I want to share with you also, we had an estate planning event this week, so I'm going to kind of go over some ideas that we gave out during that event to you during today's show. But first, we're going to have to start with Dwayne Stein. He's host of Mortgage Gumbo. He's going to be with us this first hour. If you want to stream the show, you can watch us over on Facebook Live and our YouTube channel. So it's up and running right now. The Winning at Life page on Facebook, you can connect to us through my personal page as Gregory Ricks. So go check that out and share with everybody. Download the Winning at Life app and connect to us through the Winning at Life app. You can text, email, call the show through the app, as well as you want to email me a question directly. Or you can do it next week and put out some questions you would like covered on the show as well. info@gregoryricks.com, and the website is gregoryricks.com. The phone number to call in is 504-2600-995. Hey, Dwayne, how's it going today?
How you doing? Great to be back with you, Gregory.
Oh, awesome. I'm excited as always about the future. You know, one thing, I always have something going on, whether it's news appearances, educational events, meeting with clients, meeting with the advisor team, directing the staff. But this is the life I like, is I always have something going on. Not bored, not wondering, what do I do next? How do you feel from that standpoint in your business life?
I agree. I mean, look, I had a couple, I did some guest podcasts this week as well, couple speaking engagements. And I think right now, for me, it's just a passion of educating, right? I mean, we deal, you deal with folks' money. I'm dealing with their largest, or what's considered your most valuable asset, right? Your home, just the roof over your head, and a large investment. And it's just feel good, and it's getting out there, and a lot of what we're doing right now, because this time of year, and regardless of where rates are and stuff, this time of year, normally in the housing market's a little bit slow anyway, and then you throw in all the other factors. So right now, a lot of what we're doing is setting up events and planning for how to just continue to educate the consumer, how to educate the realtors, and making sure that they understand how to win as we continue to just, as I mentioned earlier on my show, the navigation, so to speak, Gregory, of home buying. It was a giveaway program for 2 years, right? Well, the last 2 years has been a little bit choppy. And what I've tried to explain to people with rates, it's a roller coaster, right? You don't know. So, right now, maybe you're on that roller coaster and your head's hitting the back of that headrest because it's choppy, when you're going up a little bit. then when you get to the top, you don't know, it goes down for a little bit, but then it plateaus and spins. And what I'm finding that all I'm trying to do right now, Gregory, is making sure that we're educating people and navigating them, because we're no longer spinning in the middle of the sea, right? We're no longer just out there wondering what's going to happen. We now kind of know what's going to happen. We can see land, but it's not a direct path, right? We've got jetties, we've got rocks, we've got obstacles before we can get to land. So we've got to continue, my team and I, of just making sure that we educate folks on, you want to just draw that straight line, of course. We all know, fast as this 2 points is a straight line. Life isn't like that. Life happens, right? That's one of the sayings I picked up from you over the years. So life happens. And so what we're trying to do is just help people be educated, so if or when they are ready to make that move, they're set up in the best possible situation. And there's no – Greg, I'm the guy that, I can't stand the I'm gonna people, right? Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. We do this show, and I do your show, and all this, so we can make sure that we're educating people, so you never have that. We want to remove those excuses, and remove those obstacles. So like you, I'm excited too, because we're putting away things to get in touch with people and show them, and putting different things together so we could bring as much education as we can when it comes to home buying and refinancing and just all the different products, that we offer.
So what have you seen from the impact of the recent rate cut that we had? Did that move the needle at all?
It all but stopped, really. I mean, we had, from August through the rate cut that the Fed did with the 50 bips, and I knew I said they were going to do 50, and I was hoping I was going to be wrong, because I knew the impact that would have. But since they lowered the 50 bips and then recently to 25, mortgage rates, Gregory, have gone up, enough to be palatable, right? Enough to be bitter. And so it naturally has slowed things down a little bit. But I also put that in with the time of year that it is also. But, yeah, I mean, we've seen it has not been, and you talk about this all the time, and I talk about it till I'm blue in the face. Federal funds rate is not mortgage rates. But for the person who doesn't pick up Winning at Life or doesn't listen to Mortgage Gumbo, is just tuning in, they don't understand that. They hear Fed to cut rates, they think 0.5%, hey, rates are going to go down 0.5%, when right now we're dealing with the opposite. And I think now that the election's behind us, folks are going to understand, okay, hey, here's what we're dealing with, and this is what it's going to be going forward, and just start to try to figure out, I think especially in our market, Gregory, I mean, we're a big oil state, and I think now it's going to open up some things and make people feel a little bit safer, and we'll see some jobs coming back and stuff like that as well.
One of the things I was thinking about when we last spoke here on Winning at Life, we were talking about Barbara Cochran's comments,
Yep.
the lady
Yep.
from Shark Tank, about now's the time to buy. In a month, it'll be too late. I thought that was really interesting, and we understand why she said if you don't do it now, a month from now, it's too late. And what she's talking about is if you're wanting to buy at the prices things are now, because in a month, they're going to cost more. And she was not referencing interest rate or impact of the election, or they're not going to loan money anymore, or there's some collapse of the world. It's about real estate going up. And one of the things you help people do is leverage money so they can buy now. Any thought on that since we spoke?
No, I think you're 100% correct, and that's why now more than ever, Gregory, it's not as simple as let's just throw 20% at it, right? Let's do 20% down payment and go from there. Now it's being able to sort of work with that, mold of clay that they give you, and we've got to mold it into something that allows you to still achieve the dream of home ownership, but do it in a way that's a little bit different than maybe folks were doing it a couple years ago. And it's it's not just call, what's your rate? 2.5%. Great, I can go buy this. It is now, all right, how long do you want to be here? What do you have funds-wise? Let's look at how we can sort of, work this into a program that gets you where you want to be when it comes to home ownership. Because at the end of the day, and it is home values are not going down, right? They are not. And, so what I've started to do, Gregory, is, we've got to make sure I now, as an added tool to add value on what I'm doing for my clients and for my realtors, is before they go out and look at a house, they'll send me the addresses, and I will show them what those 3 houses are projected to appreciate over the next 5 and 10 years, using historical and then using really what the last 5 years has been. So they can look at that house, and maybe that house on A Street isn't giving them the same return as Main Street. So they can have that idea, and I think that's just the different ways that we've got to do things. But it's just making sure that people understand the value and how to use, like you said, how to use that money correctly, because we've worked hard for it, and now we've got to stretch it a little bit here or there. But I don't think it's a reason to sit on the sideline and kind of go, all right, I'm going to wait for them to go down, right? I mean, so there's a lot there's headwinds, like we said, so we've got to be able to navigate through that. That's the whole goal of what we do for our customers.
I've got a few things that we're going to cover with you on the next segment that's coming up, and I'm going to come back when I come back. I want to talk about the concept of adding hard assets to your balance sheet, where if you're looking to build and grow wealth, it's something you need to think about and how to position yourself to do that. And that's kind of what you help people do. So, I'm teasing that, but we're going to talk about that when we come back from the break. We have the great Dwayne Stein with us, and you know him from mortgagegumbo.com. So he's with us this hour. We're going to have more of Dwayne. If you want to call, ask a question, 504-2600-995. You're listening to Winning at Life on iHeartRadio.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
My mother just inherited a couple of annuities.
If you could explain the difference between a government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision is.
You now make too much income to contribute to a Roth IRA.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
You all are so good.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
I would never hesitate to ever call them for anything else that we need.
I can't say enough good things about Dwayne Stein and his people at Mortgage Gumbo.
I will never, ever do anything as far as a mortgage is concerned without contacting Dwayne Stein and his group again first.
Let's chat to learn what home loan options or programs you may qualify for. No cost, no obligation, just answers. MortgageGumbo.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can hear the Ask Gregory podcast, where you'll find episodes based on a financial topic. So if you're looking for help on a specific situation, there's a good chance you'll find it on the Ask Gregory podcast, including episodes on 401ks, taxes, stocks, Social Security, gold, and whether or not you should buy an RV. Hear the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Half of estate planning is having a plan put together for your loved ones when you pass away. The other half of estate planning is dealing with someone else's plan when they pass away. Sometimes they have a great plan, but sometimes you need a little help. Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me, and we'll make sure you have a plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
If you do not have
money set aside. You do not have retirement assets. You don't have significant savings. You're thinking, well, when should I turn on Social Security? I'll answer that for you right now. You should probably work as long as you possibly can and as much as you can, because that means you defer Social Security as long as you can up to age 70. And you can keep working past that. That's fine. But at age 70, you have to turn it on because you've maximized it there. And you've created the largest possible payment, and you're going to need all of that.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Yeah, the boys round here drinking that ice cold beer, talking about girls, talking about trucks, running them red dirt.
Winning at Life. Live Financial News Talk Radio. Welcome to the show. If you want to join the conversation, I'll remind you time to time, 504-260-0995. We have Dwayne Stein of MortgageGumbo.com, and he has a live show on Saturdays that's leads off before my show every Saturday morning that you're listening to now, and it's a replay of it at the back end of my show as well. Always great information from Dwayne. One of the things I kind of teased when we went to the break is I was at a conference last week, Dwayne, and one of the speakers I know quite well, and he referenced a member of Guggenheim Baseball Management, the owners of the Dodgers, and he was talking about a story about how they acquired the Dodgers a few years back, and that story, and I'd heard that fella tell the story at another conference a few years ago, which was really interesting. And I remember when they bought the Dodgers, they bought the Dodgers for about $2 billion, and it was a ridiculous price at the time. But what everybody didn't know, but one of the managing partners did know, and I believe that was Mark Walter, and he knew about the rights to the television, and all that world was coming up for renewal. And they paid a tremendous amount for that asset, $2 billion. Then they sold the media rights for nearly that amount. So it kind of equated that when they did that on the balance sheet, then it looks like they just picked up the Dodgers for a few $100 million, like nothing. Like, okay, we ended up with a baseball team for free. And now the value of that baseball team itself was recently estimated at $6 billion. And what I'm getting at, my friend that was on stage shared that he had a talk with Mark not too long ago, and Mark emphasized to him you want to grow wealth, get hard assets on your balance sheet. And, you know, one of those things conceptually is real estate or a home. And you and I have talked about this in different ways over time, as we know home's going to appreciate. If you're looking down the road, that asset is going to be worth more. It appreciates every year. And, you know, if you're looking to buy a property, a home, and what's the average home selling price right now?
I think it's right at like $429,000 nationally.
Yeah,
right?
and 10 years ago, it was about half that.
Yeah.
So we're kind of looking like, oh my gosh, in 10
Greg,
years, that's going to be $800,000.
And here's even more proof, right? Because every year they come out with this time of year loan limits, okay? And what that is the conforming loan limits, Gregory, is where how much of a loan can I do before it's considered a jumbo loan, right? So every year, and what they do is they take October of the previous year through October of the current year. And then they take what the FHA, that's the Federal Housing Finance Agency, what they do is they look at what is the average increase in home sales. Gregory, this is where the proof of what you're saying is so valuable. Listen to this. From 2006 to 2016, the conforming loan limit was $417,000. That means anywhere in the country, if you bought a home for over $417,000, it was considered a jumbo loan. Okay? Today, projected for 2025 is $802,650. This year for 2024 was $766. So in 10 years or 9 years, not even 10 years, it's doubled the loan limits. And that just gives you an idea. And there's some, 20 and 21s in there. But when you look at over time, that is just proof right there of how much values are going into it and where, and you know this, Gregory, where that wealth is at, right? I mean, it's in, like you said, a hard asset. What easier way to build wealth than through the home? And that is just, that kind of backs up what you're saying there when you start looking at, we're not going to give money out to, we start, basically when you look at this is where do they see the risk number, right? Because jumbo's a different animal. So where's that risk number? And it's gone in 9 years from $417,000 to $802,000. It's not going down. It's going up. That's a lot of equity that homeowners have built up over the years.
Some people worry about this statement, like, is there going to be a real estate crash? I'm waiting on the crash of real estate, right. Then I'm going to buy in. What do you think about that statement?
It's never I've heard that. I've been hearing that since 2022, and people were beating me up when I was on Mortgage Gumbo saying we're not in a bubble, right? A bubble, you would hear. This is not 2009, right? Credit is done differently. And the other thing that has changed is 20 and 21, and it's called the locked-in effect. When people have between 2.5% to 4%, the only way they're selling that house is divorce, death, debt, distance, meaning they got to relocate. So people are staying in their home. So that's why, from an inventory standpoint, even though inventory's up, it's still millions of homes short of where we were in 2019. So you have a lot. So for all those folks who are waiting for this to happen, you're missing out on gains after gains after gains on the value of what the home is going to be. So there's not going to be a crash. They can't be. And the amount of homeowners that have 20% in equity, and I'll get you that number, and we'll make sure we share that for the show. But when you look at the people who have at least 20%, have tappable equity, it's through the roof. And then you throw in the folks who are debt free on their mortgages. There's just not going to be that volume, Gregory. And unless something like a COVID happens again, there's no reason for us to get down to 3.5%, 4% rates, Gregory. That's not a good economy in reality, right? I mean, that's not. So those days are not coming.
Yeah, I don't think it's coming as well. And I know there's an increased supply, I read the other day, regarding new construction, but maybe sales are still slow for them, but they're not giving those houses away. There's not going to be an oversupply of new homes. It's just it's a drastically low supply, which keeps that demand, and I just don't see that catching up.
Yeah, nobody's raising their hand going, hey, I want to sell my house, and you know what? I'll bring a check to the table so I can let Sarah buy my house and get a deal on it, and I'll make up the difference for her, right? I'll bring in a check so I could pay off the mortgage just so I could give somebody else a good deal. That's just not happening. And now look, Gregory, in all honesty, are houses sitting on the market a little bit longer right now? Yes. But I think a lot of that also has to do with it was an election year. What's going to happen? People are tempered. times are tough right now. There's no doubt. So homes are sitting, but this is the old adage. Wait will break the bridge on this. And what I mean by that is the longer you wait, that's just that wealth-building tool of having that hard asset of a home is just going further and further out. And if you're buying 5 years, you're still going to make money, right? We know that. But what did you give up? How much cash did you give up? What kind of wealth are you losing out on?
A few headlines here I'm looking at. I'm going to run through real quick. New build home supply is slumping across the U.S. Another headline, Redfin reports 28% of houses for sale are newly built, the lowest share in 3 years. Realtor.com, new construction insights, newly built homes becoming smaller, more affordable. And Yahoo Finance, a supply crunch means old homes are now nearly as expensive as new builds. So if you're putting off waiting for interest rates to go down, you just got to look. That's the price of leverage now. I am kind of like, find a way to move forward and get that asset if you're planning. And it makes it easy, because one of the question when especially things were being bid up last year and the year before, I would be asked the question, should I pay this price? Should I raise my bid? And my question always was, how long are you planning to be in that home? And I always hope for the answer to be somewhere around neighbor to 10 years. We know you're solid there. But most of the time it come back, well, I'm planning to be there at least 5 years. And I said, well, okay, that's an answer I like. And if you're going to be there for 10 years, even better, you're going to come out ahead. The best answer is, well, I'd like to own this home from now on. Well, you're going to be fine. You might not like it the first few years, and you maybe not get that appreciation, but you give it enough time, it's going to be there for you. And you have this great phrase, and what are they marrying and what are they dating?
Marry the house, date the rate. Now more than ever, that is as true a statement as you're going to have. Marry the house, date the rate.
Yeah, and if you find the right property, should move forward, because you can always refinance and improve that rate in the future. Remember, you're getting a hard asset on your balance sheet, and it's a place for you to call home. We're going to continue talking with Dwayne. We're going to take a short break. You're listening to Winning at Life on iHeartRadio.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
The program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts, probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet? Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to GregoryRicks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks & Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services. Offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC, and Gregory Ricks & Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, or you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Cancer Crusaders has been raising funds for cancer research in New Orleans since 1978. Cancer Crusaders Incorporated is a non-profit, all-volunteer organization with no administrative overhead. Cancer Crusaders has raised over $5 million for the local cancer research centers, LSU Stanley S. Scott Cancer Center and Tulane Cancer Center in New Orleans, where they are working on a cure for cancer. Get involved, donate, volunteer, or attend a fundraiser. Visit us at cancercrusadersla.org.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Fox News, I'm Jack Callahan. President-elect Trump picking Caroline Leavitt to be his White House press secretary.
Saying in a statement, Caroline is an effective communicator, adding, I have the utmost confidence she will excel at the podium and help deliver our message to the American people.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin, the president-elect, also naming North Dakota's Governor Doug Burgum as Secretary of the Interior and chair of the newly created National Energy Council. Emotional testimony yesterday in the trial of the Venezuelan migrants charged with killing 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley. The police officer who found her body testifying.
I suspected that this wasn't an accident based on the circumstances in which she had been found. So I started communicating with Sergeant Epps that we need to begin setting up a perimeter to preserve any evidence because I believe the crime had occurred.
America is listening to Fox News.
Everything that kills me makes me feel alive. I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be.
Welcome. Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. If you want to find out more about me and the show, go to GregoryRicks.com. Check out the news blog there as well. Tremendous amount of articles. You know, we want to increase your financial knowledge, and I think that's a big impact of this show we've been doing for over 14 years is the continuous supply of financial information, and a lot more to give you on the show today. We have Dwayne Stein, host of Mortgage Gumbo, and he is joining us this hour to talk real estate and leveraging some money. Well, simpler terms, borrowing some money to buy hard assets. So from that standpoint, you primarily deal in home ownership. Is there any other parts of that you work with, Dwayne?
No, I mean, it's everything to do with the home, right? Whether it's, purchases, refinance, construction, renovation loans, reverse mortgage, any of those. But it's using your home as a tool, right? And it's figuring out, like you said, how to leverage that asset and do it like any other investment, right? How do we get the most return on our money, right? What are those things that we can do to make sure that we are leveraging? Because the great Gregory Ricks says, and this is something I use all the time, whether it's having a conversation yesterday afternoon, helping a realtor write up a contract, it's the return of my money is more important than return of, right? So what are my outs? How do I get out of these things? So when you're doing a mortgage loan, that's where, like you said, you're asking, well, how long should I pay? Should I bid over asking? What should I be looking at? Well, those are the questions that we're making sure that we ask. Everybody's not painted with the same brush. So we want to make sure that we're finding that out. And what are your goals? What are your plans? So we can put together a program that works for you. I could have two teachers that each make $50,000. One wants a $500,000 house. Another one wants a $150,000 house. Or somebody that makes $250,000 wants a $200,000 house. Everybody's different, so we can't just assume and paint everybody with that same brush, especially in today's market. because everybody, Gregory, if you're out purchasing a home right now, let's just be honest. Look, and that's the great thing about you and I show. We talk about the tough topics, right? We're not afraid to pull the Band-Aid off. And I get it. Buying a home right now, hey, you are brave. You are brave right now. And I don't mean that saying like, oh my gosh, that takes, like why are you doing that? What I mean is you're brave because it's hard to see the forest through the trees right now, Gregory, right? It's hard. It's hard to be able to imagine what building wealth looks like when home ownership and dealing with money, it is not a touch. We want those senses, especially in a world we're in right now where it's, I want it now. Home ownership wealth, Gregory, you can't taste it. You can't touch it. You can't feel it, right? Or smell it. So you've got to be able to use data and understand how to do that. Work with somebody that could show you those benefits. And so when I say it's brave right now, it's not always very glaring. You've got to understand, and that's why we try and use your show and my show and just daily conversations and getting out and educating the value of home ownership and the fact that, Gregory, a homeowner is 40 times more wealth, has 40 times more wealth than a renter. I mean, it's that simple. And those are the things that we want to make sure that we try to show that value. And we get it. Hey, you don't like the rate. I don't like it. But let's discuss how we could still use it to your advantage and what is the big picture here. Because the fix and flippers, Gregory, they don't care, right? They're getting in, they're flipping and moving on and going in a different route. But the person who's using that home for wealth, that's a big difference. And that's what we've got, and that's what we want to show folks and the benefit of it. Because the amount of equity that's being built right now is through the roof, and people are making so much money just by being a homeowner.
And what you had mentioned a moment ago is time makes that better. Yeah. It's even if you feel you overpaid or you have to put some money into it, having it over time makes that better. Having time makes investing in equities palatable. Short term, just use an example of buying a stock. Hey, it may go down, but years into the future, it's going to be worth a lot more as a portfolio. And I'm not singling out one stock, but I mean, like if you put money into the S&P 500, we know 20 years out, no matter what time period you look at over the past 20 years, you pick any date, go back 20 years to that start date, and then go forward, you're always going to be 100% well in that investment. I think in real estate, once again, I wouldn't just go buy anything, but you got to look at the area, make a good decision, and if it's not some pretty property, can it become one? And some people have a good vision for that. That's where some of those flippers that do that, they'll buy something, fix what's wrong, and then they sell it for a profit and move on. And that enables other buyers to go buy a nice property and be happy about going forward with it. But once again, time makes that better. Now, one of the common mistakes I think people make, and this might be pointed out as one of the biggest, is most common mistake first-time home buyers make is underestimating the costs involved. It's crucial to establish a budget and stick to it. You want to talk about that a little?
Yeah, and look, especially let's take rates out of it right now, right? Because at the end of the day, what I find is people, they call me and I go, all right, hey, your $300,000 loan at 6.75 is X. It's the homeowner's insurance, Gregory. It's the taxes, right? I've been getting yelled at for the last 6 weeks because this is a tax assess year, so everybody's getting their tax bills in, and they're seeing that the payments increased a little bit, right? And that's because it's because of the assessed year, which happens every 4 years. So you've got years 21 and all that when you had all these huge gains. So it's being able to understand. But as importantly, Greg, for instance, last week, my garage door decided it didn't want to work anymore. Well, $1,400 later, if I want to get my cars out of my garage, right, and, that's an expense, and it's understanding. And that is something that folks have to take into consideration. And we talk about that because, right now, if you're living in an apartment, your AC don't work, you call down to the front office and go, hey, I'm hot. Okay, we'll get Johnny up there, and we'll have it fixed by the time you get home this afternoon or whatever. Now you've got a budget for those things. And but what are you looking at is, the risk versus the reward. What are you looking at from that standpoint? And, so it's talking about that when we're doing the budgets of home ownership, right? And, again, it's like we said earlier in the earlier segment, Gregory, everybody's different. Some people want to maximize out and be like, all right, I'll be house poor, right? I don't want to worry about having one penny left over. Others are a little bit more conservative. But what I want you listeners to understand is this. There's not a loan out there that we do that we could put you in that you cannot have to qualify for. You have to work within the budget. So this is not, loanshark.com and you come to me and I'm like, all right, hey, yeah, you're good. You've got to qualify for that loan. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And that's what you got to step through. But, yeah, you've got to be ready for those surprises. And, right now especially, I mean, look, had somebody call me this past week, air condition went out, $8,000 that to get their AC fixed. That's a big number, right? So what do you recommend? How do I handle this? I don't want to get rid of my 3.25% rate, right? So how do we manage those things? So you got to be able to budget because, yeah, you don't want to have to do a whole refinance so you can get 8, 10, 20 grand out and lose a nice rate on a mortgage.
Yeah, and that is something I talk about often when people are looking at buying, and that's the one of the most important systems in our home is the quality of life, conditioning the air. Yep. And when that breaks, it's going to be expensive, and you have to really think about that when you're looking to buy the house and how old is that system. Hey, we'll talk about that and more when we come back from the break. We have the great Dwayne Stein with us, host of MortgageGumbo.com, and you're listening to us on iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks, Winning at Life.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I started my retirement about 5 years ago, and I truly am late in life.
Would I be better to just withdraw the money out of my TSP and pay that mortgage off?
My problem is I have champagne tasting of your salary. What is a balloon note?
Is that cutting it too close?
So will I still be eligible for Medicare?
Is there anything better I can do with the money I transferred into the Roth from my 401k? My goal is to retire at age 60. I'm 54 right now.
Hey, I have a 9-year-old son, and he's got probably $2,500 in. Is there anything we can invest it in?
And I just started a 401k a little late in life.
Then that should be like 10%.
Now, how far in advance do you recommend that someone goes to visit the Social Security office?
I won some money in a casino playing poker.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mom, it stinks.
Hush, I'm almost done. All right, now you're safe from bugs in the backyard. Don't let mosquitoes ruin your outdoor fun. Call Mosquito Joe today. When you call, they come out and they do the spraying. Mosquito Joe's time-release capsule lasts for about a month. No more sticky bug sprays. Take back your backyard. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
Hey, I love your show.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
At the core, I always tell people, I'm not here to make you rich. I'm here to make sure you don't run out of money, that you don't run out of income. That's how I look at my job. Over time, saving, making good decisions can make you rich. But what you have is, what is your core thing? Your core thing should be making money. And your core thing, you should set aside money to work elsewhere. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to put it to risk. You could put it to safety. But your core thing makes you money. Or you tell me your core thing is the market, day trading, or gambling in the market. It shouldn't be. You should have a core thing that makes you money, and you peel some off for the future when you're done with your core.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
I believe most people are good and most mamas ought to qualify for sainthood. I believe most Friday nights look better underneath.
You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. If you want to join the conversation, reach out to us through the Winning at Life app. You can email, text, or call the show through the Winning at Life app, and that gets you into the Winning at Life Nation. A lot of resources there for you. So reach out to us. I've got Dwayne Stein with us this hour, host of MortgageGumbo.com. Man, I tell you what, I'm getting blown up by text and such here. I guess we're talking about some really good stuff. Now, we kind of talked about your most expensive system in your home, which is a mechanical system, air conditioning, and you kind of gave a story there about somebody in a situation there.
Yep.
And that's where emergency money is always important. It is a core fundamental of financial planning. I think it's core of life. It's of ownership. Do not drain yourself to make a purchase or to invest as well. You got to keep some money on the side so when surprises happen, whether it's evacuation for a hurricane, AC breaking, car breaking, medical emergency, you need something to fall back on. Just want to be clear on that. That's fundamental so that you don't lose a hard asset or get into a bind. And it also, you have to consider that what if your job changes? What is your backup plan? So you always kind of have to plan for what may happen. Now, one of the things you've made me aware of is equity values out there. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, when we talk about Gregory, and we're looking at, from a standpoint of what is, how much equity. Equity is what is your wealth in a home. So what it is it's the difference of what the value of your home is, right, versus how much you owe. So if your home is worth $100,000 and you owe $75,000, you have $25,000 in equity. That is your wealth. That is how much you have built. Maybe you paid $90,000 for the home or $95,000, right? So you built up that equity. And what we're seeing right now is the amount, and this kind of all goes into circling back, Gregory, to when we're talking about, or are we going to have a housing crash or a bubble? And here's the whys. We don't just, I like to make sure that I'm clear to the Winning at Life Nation. And when I talk to my clients and give the whys and give the data, right? And the bottom line is right now, through Q3, there's over $17.2 trillion in equity. Of that, $11.2 trillion is tappable. What that means is when you're doing a loan, in most cases, you cannot get cash above 80%. So, again, that same $100,000 home, you owe $65,000. You want to get cash. The most I can go is to $80,000 or 80%. So you get $15,000 in tappable. $11.2 trillion, right? So when you're looking at this right now, 90% or approximately 48.5 million homeowners have some sort of degree of equity that can be withdrawn. So this kind of goes back to, Greg, why are we not going to have a bubble? Well, everybody's sitting on wealth. So even though times are what's getting folks through these times right now is the fact that they have home ownership, right? And they're able to fall back on the wealth that they have in their home and utilize that asset for themselves. And that is something that I think, and if you haven't owned a home, I get it. And that's where you've got to have conversations with someone who can sort of educate you on that. Because, Gregory, I'll have people who will tell me, my grandma, grandpa told me when they bought it was at 18%. And, these rates right now, even though they're in the high sixes, are still good rates. Then others will be like, no, my dad's telling me I should wait or this or that. And everybody's different. And nobody cares that anybody walked backwards through snow barefooted to get to school when they were a kid. We now live in a now world. And so it's showing you the equity that is there. And that's, I think, when I show folks over the long term what that house could be worth and what it's going to do for you, and I put it down on paper, then it becomes a little bit more realistic. And that is something I think that people have to understand. And the other thing, too, is when you're sitting here and when you go out and somebody goes, oh, we're going to wait for the housing crash. Keep this in mind, folks. 40% of households, and this is a staggering number, Gregory, and unfortunately I'm not in it, 40% of households in the U.S. are free and clear. So that house isn't coming available, right? It's free and clear. I don't have to sell it. I can use it as a rental. I could use it as an income stream if I want to go buy something else. So that is a big, big thing when you think of that. When you think of all the homes, there's about 140-plus million homes out there in the U.S., and 40% of the home ownership is not a great thing. How can you tell me it's not a beneficial factor and should be part of your budgeting and your wealth management? It's got to be in there somewhere.
Yeah, that is peace of mind, knowing that you've got a property free and clear. Next step behind that is having a lot of equity in the property, even though you still may owe money. And once again, getting a hard asset on your balance sheet like a home, and you're leveraging. It's okay to borrow money for that. It's like, heck, I couldn't write a check to go buy the house.
Right.
But what I did was borrow money, leverage, to get that property. And I remember, and I've told this story many times, I built this property, and buying the land, I had to pay above market to get the deal done. But I said, I know I'm good because I plan to own it for 30 years.
Right.
Give or take a few years. But, basically saying I'm going to have this from now on, so I'm good. Long as I get it because it's what I want, and I could overpay a little bit. Not everybody maybe can do that, but when you have that view that you're going to be there. So it's growing in value, and I got well on that a few years after, but I'm doing two things. I'm paying down my mortgage, and it's growing in value. So there you're building equity for the future that gives you options down the road.
And Gregory, the other thing is this. If you are listening to this show right now, you follow us and they're just, Dwayne just wants to book loans. There's never a comparison in the headlines, cheaper to rent than buy. Yeah, for a year, maybe 18 months, right? And again, it comes back to that, what's the big picture, right? And so many times when people call me and they want to, well, right now I pay $1,200 a month in rent, so that's what I want my mortgage to be. Okay, well, is that what you want your mortgage to be, or is that what you can afford, right? So that's what we've got to look at as well, because you can't compare an apple to an orange and think it's the same thing. They're both fruits. They're both in the same basket in the grocery store in the same section, but they're not the same. So that's the thing. And when you see these headlines, oh, still cheaper to rent. No, it's not over the long haul. So look and see. How do you learn what it is and what market? And, Gregory, the biggest thing, too, and you know this, and we talk about this as well, real estate is local. So let's look at where – that means look out your window every day, and that where you live, that is your market. Heck, your street is your market. Your neighborhood is your market. So don't get caught up in what Bobby and Janet did in Slidell versus what you may do in Metairie, or in what somebody did in Hammond versus what they're going to do down in Thibodaux, or Baton Rouge versus St. Bernard. Understand that you've got to look. Real estate is local, so let us work through that for you. And we may have a program in one area that we don't have in another that you had no clue about. So those are the big things, is understanding that real estate is local, but short term, is renting cheaper? Sure. But over what we're talking about here through the duration of this show, Winning at Life Nation, is let me help you kind of read the tea leaves, so to speak, or let me help put a path together for you so you at least know, right? Then if you decide, hey, I don't want to do it, then so be it. But you got to at least know. And everybody, I call it the drunken uncle syndrome, Greg. It's more popular now, and it comes around this time of year for Thanksgiving. That uncle who knows everything, he's sitting around a table, big belly, belt on, pants undone, unbuttoned, watching some football, and the dude, he's boozing it up, and there's not a topic you can bring up that he's not an expert in. And it's the drunken uncle. Never owned a house, but he's going to tell you why you shouldn't and what's stupid about it and all this. So this time of year, those drunken uncles, and everybody knows who they are when after you ate that turkey and he's snoring on the thing, but they'll give you the greatest advice in the world. But find out for yourself, what is your particular situation? That's the name of the game.
Well, you hear the music. What an hour this has been, Dwayne. Thank you.
Speed, Greg.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Tremendous amount of information. Don't make a mistake trying to do this without help. Get a team like Dwayne for your mortgage, and go use a realtor, because they know a lot about the marketplace you're in. Thanks again, Dwayne. Reach out to Dwayne at mortgagegumbo.com. We'll be back here in a couple minutes for Hour 2 of Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
From the Gregory Ricks and Associates Wealth Management Studios, WRNO FM, New Orleans, an iHeart radio station.
If it's not for him, I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. President Biden making one of his last international trips as president, but Tomlinson reports from Lima, Peru.
It's not often the President of the United States makes an international trip and is not the guest of honor, and that's been afforded to Chinese President Xi Jinping. As Biden went to his hotel, China's president was feted at the state palace, the presidential palace, in the honor of a state visit, complete with a military honor guard and more red carpet. No question Biden's lame duck status playing a role here. Now, while at the palace, President Xi and Peru's president watched on a live feed the opening of China's new $1.3 billion megaport 2 hours north of where I'm standing here in Lima. Total Chinese investment is expected to top $3.5 billion over the next decade.
China is Peru's largest trading partner. The second Trump administration is coming into shape less than 2 weeks after the election. Fox's Bill Malusian breaks down the latest nominations.
He announced that his press secretary is going to be Caroline Levitt. She'll be handling the back and forth with the media at the podium. She'll be the youngest press secretary in history at just 27 years old. He announced that Stephen Chung is going to be his communications director. Chung did comms for Trump during his successful presidential campaign. And then he made it official with the announcement that North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum will be Secretary of the Interior. Now, some of the more controversial picks, the ones Democrats are kind of up in arms about, have been RFK Jr. as HHS Secretary, Matt Gaetz as AG, our colleague Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense, and Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence.
President-elect Trump is expected soon to nominate his pick to be Treasury Secretary. FBI investigating a rash of offensive emails and text messages sent to members of the Hispanic and LGBTQ communities across the nation.
Welcome to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. Thanks for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed the first hour with Dwayne Stein of Mortgage Gumbo. Tremendous amount of information. Kind of the theme of that, if you're not a homeowner, get to work on that. Because over time, you're adding a hard asset that you're building equity with, and it gives you options in life to leverage up to maybe living elsewhere, living in a larger square foot home, towards that dream house maybe, but you have to start someplace. And I go back to the first property I bought years and years ago, and it was difficult. I kept missing out on deals. And then finally I stepped up and was in a kind of being outbid on different properties I was trying to buy. And then finally I just stepped up and made sure that next house I looked at, and I just made sure I got the house. And some people kind of surprised. But you know what? I think a decade later, I'm not sure about how many years, but I think it was a decade later, I sold it for much more than I paid for it. And I still follow that theme, and that's why I always kind of use the premise that if you're going to be there for a decade, you're going to be pretty good shape. But that doesn't mean just go buy anything. You need to be prudent. You need to look at how's the area? Is it up and coming? Is it stable? You know, just use some common sense in there. And what can you do to improve the property? In one sense, here's another thing I think it's important from that premise is make sure it has curb appeal. And if it doesn't, can you fix that? It might be the lawn, the shrubs, that can make that look better. Can it be painted? Can you do some changes that makes that appearance better? And internally, you want to make the inside look fresh and comfortable for yourself. But I look at that because what is my backup to that is, what if I need to sell this? Or what if I'm going to have to relocate? So I'm looking at buying it, but can I get out of it? So I don't want to buy something that is horrid and I can't get out. So I think that's some common sense stuff you should be thinking about when you move through this process. Consider your budget we talked about. Consider your emergency fund as well. So there's a few ways we're building wealth in our lives, and I think one of them, and it's kind of it's not in law. You know, it's not in the Constitution. Everybody has the right to have a home, but it kind of is. We in this country get to seek out our dreams and our wants and our wishes. And I think that's one of the great things about living in the United States of America is we can own property and control our future. You're not being forced to live in some apartment building, you know. I'll say this sure as heck isn't China or other countries like that. This is America, where you have that ability to acquire property. You can start a business. You can change jobs and increase your income. And I think that's an awesome opportunity that you think about. And I know some of that has been lost. Like maybe, you know, just it isn't what it used to be. You know, the young people coming out of school are struggling to acquire a home and a place to live. Things are tough. Yeah, we've it's kind of been a tough run, and mortgages are kind of expensive from an interest rate standpoint compared to a few years back. Historically, not so much. My gosh, we never reached double-digit highs. I know when I came out of high school, it's double digits to borrow money for a property. And I don't know that that was even thought about as a problem, where it's kind of thought of as a problem now. But you have the opportunity to acquire property and grow wealth. So through home ownership is one of them, through savings and investing. Outside of your work plan should be another, that you've got emergency savings and you start saving for the future. And long term, and through your work, having a 401k or IRA, Roth accounts, you should put money in qualified plans. But outside of that, you should be saving and investing non-qualified money as well. So we kind of spoke fundamentally there. You should become a homeowner, have a hard asset. You should be saving in your retirement plans through your employer. If your employer doesn't do that, you need to put money into an IRA, preferably in a Roth account, because I'd like to grow assets where I'm not paying taxes on that in the future. Remember the compounding interest? What's the first difficult block of money? It's the first $100,000. It's not the first million, it's the first 100,000. And using the concept of the rule of 72, if, for example, hypothetically, you average 7.2% return on your money, it's going to double every 10 years. So even if you kind of say, I'm done, I got to 100,000, I'm not putting any more in, I'm just going to spend everything, but I'm going to let this 100,000 keep working. Well, in 20 years, at 7.2% return, that 100,000 is going to become $400,000. You're on your way to building wealth. Now, don't stop the saving, because go put away another 100,000, and then another 100,000. But you've kind of made this work for you, because now you're able to take advantage of compounding. So you're going to grow equity in your home. You might not like the rate, but there'll probably be a better rate for you in the future. If not, you're still paying it down and you're building equity there. You should be building wealth through qualified money, preferably Roth, to where it grows tax deferred and comes out tax free. In some cases can be deductible for that contribution going in for you in qualified money. Then your work plan, you should be contributing into that, and if whatever they match, oh my gosh, you don't have to, but you have to. You see what I'm saying? You need to get that match. If they're matching, if you put in 4% and they match 4%, you've got to get that. but you also got to work to putting in more. And then we want to invest and save non-qualified money. And that's money that's not in your company plan, not in your IRAs, whether it's a traditional or Roth. It's non-qualified that you're building up wealth long term. I don't want everything tied to qualified money. I want to have other options. If you've got non-qualified money and you're all of a sudden it's another property I've got a chance to buy. Friend of mine selling the property, I'm getting a deal on it. Where are you going to get that money from? You're going to go borrow from your company plan? You're going to cash your IRA? No. You should plan to accumulate, build up savings. And some of that could be building up your emergency fund significantly. You can go put it to work and get yield, but also have access to it. And that money, depending on what you're looking to buy down the road, I wouldn't necessarily go and put all that, say, in equities, so to speak, there. But you want to do that in a way where you have some liquidity, and that becomes a longer-term plan of building wealth out there. If you're new to the show this hour, I'm CEO, founder of Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority, advisors and retirement strategies. Yeah, I've been managing that firm, and we've been helping families. I don't know. I don't quite count the years, somewhere over 20 years, and I've been in the financial services industry my adult life, and my fascination started in school with the love of compounding interest and business conceptually of how can you grow and have opportunity. So that's a little bit of background on me, and there was some transformative stuff when Dad was killed in an offshore accident a long time ago, and through lawsuits, Mom came into a 7-figure settlement, and she burned through that money in about 10 years. Hated to see her go through that, but it taught me a lot of lessons as I was growing up, and that became formative information about how we help people with their money. And as far as the firm that I have, you can reach out to us through the website, GregoryRicks.com. You can connect to us through the Winning at Life app. We're on Facebook, my personal page, the Winning at Life app, and the firm app of Gregory Ricks and Associates. We have offices in Metairie, Louisiana, Mandeville, Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Gulfport, Mississippi, but we also work with families across the country because we have the ability to do Zoom meetings, digital, work with you digitally, and of course there's the telephones. We can always talk to you. So reach out to us. One number to call if you're looking for some help, no matter what office, what state, 504-832-9200. We're going to take a short break here. This is Winning at Life on iHeartRadio.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
My mother just inherited a couple of annuities.
If you could explain the difference between a government pension offset and a windfall elimination provision is.
You now make too much income to contribute to a Roth IRA.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
You all are so good.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
I would never hesitate to ever call them for anything else that we need.
I can't say enough good things about Dwayne Stein and his people at Mortgage Company.
I will never, ever do anything as far as a mortgage is concerned without contacting Dwayne Stein and his group again first.
Let's chat to learn what home loan options or programs you may qualify for. No cost, no obligation, just answers. MortgageGumbo.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can hear the Ask Gregory podcast. where you'll find episodes based on a financial topic. So if you're looking for help on a specific situation, there's a good chance you'll find it on the Ask Gregory podcast, including episodes on 401ks, taxes, stocks, Social Security, gold, and whether or not you should buy an RV. Hear the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Half of estate planning is having a plan put together for your loved ones when you pass away. The other half of estate planning is dealing with someone else's plan when they pass away. Sometimes they have a great plan, but sometimes you need a little help. Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me, and we'll make sure you have a plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
If you do not have money set aside, you do not have retirement assets, you don't have significant savings, you're thinking, well, when should I turn on Social Security? I'll answer that for you right now. You should probably work as long as you possibly can and as much as you can, because that means you defer Social Security as long as you can up to age 70. And you can keep working past that. That's fine. But at age 70, you have to turn it on because you've maximized it there. And you've created the largest possible payment, and you're going to need all of that.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Winning at Life, live financial talk radio. Hey, we started something new yesterday at the firm Gregory Ricks and Associates, and it's a part of Winning at Life, the show, and we're kind of expanding that as well. You know, we've got the Ask Gregory podcast that we keep adding episodes to. We have our YouTube channel as well, which is a great resource, and you can find the link to that on the website gregoryricks.com. In the coming weeks, we're rolling out a new updated website with a lot more resources on there. But like my appearances on news shows are there on the YouTube channel, other videos and resources that we're doing. But yesterday we started something new that I had conceptually been wanting to do for a little while, and we call it the Advisor Lounge. So we did that yesterday, and Nicholas Rohde and Brandon Blanchard were the two in the lounge yesterday, and they'll talk about some thoughts from the week, some ideas they have, maybe share some stories, and giving some information to help you. And it's conceptually, our objective is for that to air at 2:30 every Friday. So the goal is every week, but with that said, probably not absolutely happening 52 weeks out the year. And it's going to show up on Facebook Live as well as our YouTube channel. And then you can go back and watch replays of that. It's a piece that's going to be about 20 to 30 minutes. It will cap out at 30 minutes. We're not going to sit there and do a marathon. It's not going to be like my 3-hour radio show. But it's going to go typically 20 to 30 minutes and give you some ideas. It's also another way to get to know the team of advisors. So we'll have a mix every week of the advisory team, which is made up of our advisors and analysts that we have. So they'll be setting in, and I told them this is something pretty relaxed. You know, you don't have to have a tie on. I told them, but you're going to have a collar and a jacket on. But I just want you to look comfortable and not worry about it. I said, hey, put some notes, thoughts on a tablet, have that with you. You can refer to it, but this is just to have a casual conversation with the viewers or those that want to go back and look at it later. That's available for them. And that's also a way for people to get to know more about the team that's out there helping people with their money, giving the advice. And oh my gosh, we've got such a great team of people, and we might even expand that to some of the other departments, have people talk about what they do at the firm in the advisor lounge that we're doing every week. So you'll start seeing that being available to you, or you want to catch it and click on when it's actually happening live. And I told them not to worry about messing up or something. And I know there was some square, technology, we probably have some kinks to work out in that, but the point is it's being started. So another great resource of information for you as well. Another item we're rolling out, and I did an educational event this week, and I'm going to talk with you a little bit about it during this show today, is estate planning. And I had Wes Blanchard in, and he carried most of the weight there. You know, he's an estate planning attorney. So it was a great event, great turnout for that. And we're going to do a couple more of those next year. But what we're adding to this is we're going to, like we did that event in the future, we're also going to tie in a webinar to it that will follow it, not at the same time, and that is not going to be recorded as a webinar, but we're going to set up and do probably within a few weeks of that live event, we're also going to do a webinar. And we might run more of those from a topic standpoint than what we do on those live in-person educational events. But we can get you a lot more information, make it available to you. And once again, my goal when we do a webinar on estate planning or investing or on Social Security or tax efficiency, and of course we can cover a lot of other topics as well, but we're going to put that more in a bite-sized episode that will run somewhere about 30 minutes. I won't hold it like the advisor lounge that we're doing. We're capping that at 30 minutes is the objective. And we're start time be ballpark of 2:30 every Friday. Give or take a few minutes, it'll be right there and run 20 to 30 minutes. 30 minutes is kind of the cap we would like to be at. Webinar could go a little bit longer when we do those, because sometimes it's just the amount of information, just like the topic on Social Security. I've given those full-on ones where we cover a lot in it. And I think I've done one, it ran like an hour and 45 minutes, and there was still more to talk about. I'm not going to try to do that to you, but what we might see that we're doing, because there's so much to know regarding Social Security, that's kind of like investing as well. We might break that into some subsets on that. But what I'd like to do is kind of keep that where we're at about 30 to 40 minutes. I don't want to turn it into an hour event or something that's an hour and a half, because it's like, oh my gosh, it's so much to sit through. But also, it's like the live events. What we're offering up is the chance to get to meet us, get to know us, and see if you would like us to help you, be that sounding board, help you as that financial guide. And I think that's really important that we make this available in bite-sized pieces. Okay, let's jump to the callers. We have Brandon with us. Hey, Brandon, how are you?
Hey, Gregory, I'm good this morning. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I was just talking about what you and Nicholas did for us yesterday on the start of the Advisor Lounge. Did I get that right? Is that what we had decided on the name?
Hey, I'm going to let you in marketing decide that. That seems like a bite I didn't want to insert myself into.
Yeah, I just don't recall the conversation off the top of my head that we rolled out with. But conceptually, how did you feel about it yesterday?
It was fun. We had a good time. And like you said, we've been looking forward to doing something like this for quite a while. So both Nicholas and I and the rest of the advisory team are really excited to get it in motion.
So tell me a little bit of what you talked about on that episode yesterday.
So we started out with a brief little market update and did make sure to disclose there that we're going to leave the market talk to you, mainly on your Monday afternoon market recaps. But figured it was forefront on a lot of people's minds, so we wanted to start out with that. And then Nicholas used that as a good segue into a couple different topics that are really front and center for a lot of people, especially in holiday season. So that would be handling budgetary concerns with respect to inflation and, heck, end of year where a lot of expenses tend to pop up. And then if you do find yourself in a little bit of a tight month-to-month situation, how do you manage that? What do you do, and what are some of the steps that you can do to help yourself and help a friend or family member if you find yourself or them in that situation?
Yeah, I really like this conceptually, and where the public's always hearing me, but they don't always get to know the team, the advisory team and we may mix in some people from some other departments as well to share a little bit about what they do. But it's kind of like lessons maybe you picked up from this week or concepts and questions. And that's what we're also offering the public is send in questions. Go to GregoryRicks.com and in the chat box or info@GregoryRicks.com and send in questions for the Advisor Lounge. And y'all can address some of that as well as I can on the show. But specifically, if you'd like the advisors to answer to something when they do that each week on that 30-minute segment, that is a great place for that. Anything else on your mind today? How have things gone this week?
Things are going pretty good. As we talked about yesterday, we gave back a little bit of those market gains from the Trump bump, just with a little bit of uncertainty with some hotter than expected news items that had come out. But all in all, we are enjoying a good, positive end of the year, and it looks like we have a lot of reason to believe that things are going to continue on this positive track.
Okay. Hey, thanks for joining us on Winning at Life, and to the listening public, you just got to know Brandon a little bit. He's occasionally on the show. We're encouraging him to get on here more since he's going to be in the lounge on a regular basis. We're going to take a break. This is Winning at Life on iHeartRadio.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
The program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet. Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to gregoryricks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services. Offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC. And Gregory Ricks and Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, or you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Cancer Crusaders has been raising funds for cancer research in New Orleans since 1978. Cancer Crusaders Incorporated is a non-profit, all-volunteer organization with no administrative overhead. Cancer Crusaders has raised over $5 million for the local cancer research centers, LSU Stanley S. Scott Cancer Center and Tulane Cancer Center in New Orleans, where they are working on a cure for cancer. Get involved, donate, volunteer, or attend a fundraiser. Visit us at cancercrusadersla.org.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
News. I'm Paul Stevens. President-elect Trump continuing to make cabinet picks and name key staffers. Coming White House press secretary, Republican National Committee co-chair Lara Trump on Fox and Friends weekend.
These are people who understand what needs to happen and how to be effective movers.
The president-elect also naming Doug Burgum as the Interior Secretary, with growing speculation about who would be named the next Treasury Secretary for the U.S. A trial now underway for the Venezuelan illegal migrant charged with killing 22-year-old Georgia nursing student Laken Riley.
The system failed Laken Riley and her family. A broken border, a failed Laken Riley.
Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr on Fox and Friends weekend. Jose Ibarra charged with Laken Riley's murder. America's listening to Fox News.
Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. You know, just to give a shout out to some of our show contributors. We had Dwayne Stein, host of Mortgage Gumbo, with us this morning. Last week we had Jude Heath of J. Heath Company CPAs, as well as Wesley Blanchard spoke at our educational event this week, and he's a estate planning attorney. He's not always at those when it goes. I can carry that weight, but it was a tremendous event. I hate you missed out on it. We will be planning another one with Wes beginning of the year, and we talked about doing a joint webinar together as well on estate planning. And as I mentioned to you, that's besides what Brandon had called in and talked about, the advisor lounge that we're going to start doing every week at 2:30. But once again, it's going to be available for replay after, and will be available on our YouTube channel. So you're going to have a series of those as well, and I think you'll find that informative, and it will be a change up. Hey, I'm not, and that was like that one. It was Nicholas Rohde and Brandon Blanchard yesterday. So you're not going to, I wasn't on there, and that is not my intent to have another format. And my plate's pretty full, by the way. So what I want is a platform that the advisors or the advisor team can sit down with you and share some insights and thoughts, and you get to know them as well. And some of the analysts are going to be involved in that, and it's not going to be the same two every week, but you might see a few of them more often than others that join in. And occasionally, yeah, I'll take a seat in the chair there, but it's more about the teams and involvement that we're seeing there. And I'm really excited about that as well. The educational events that we're holding next year, the team's going to get more involved in that as well. I'll be helping out with that some, but I won't be the main speaker at every one of those. So we're wanting the team to get involved also along with the webinars as well. I'm not going away. I think it's important you get to know all these great people that we have instead of it just being myself. And I think that broadens our exposure and our their exposure to you, the listening audience, as well. So you get to know this great team that helps take care of people's money, and all those team members are great sounding boards as well to help you. This week's market commentary, and I do this beginning of each week. Nicholas is actually going to do it this week because I have a commitment to be on WLOX News Monday at 4, so you could catch me live there, but Nicholas is going to do the weekly commentary for this week on Monday. And I've also on my plate on Wednesday of next week is we're filming some more episodes of the upcoming TV show that we're going to have on in a few markets that we've got agreements for it to be on. So we're going to have it on in the Hattiesburg, Mississippi market, Gulfport, Mississippi market, and the New Orleans area. That should, I think all that start rolling out in January of this year. So a 30-minute TV show that we'll be doing weekly, and I'm excited about that. I was a little bit stressed, shared that with some of you a few weeks back when we kind of did the first 4 episodes that we have done, and we're going to record 6 more. But I'm pretty comfortable with it now. It's just kind of stressful, like, oh my gosh, you know. It went well, so I'm pretty relaxed. It turned out to be a fun day, but I'll tell you, the start of the day, you know what I was saying to myself, what have I went and done now? What have I gotten myself into? Here's what I get myself into. I just want to get more information out there and use other mediums to make it available to you. And that's what we're trying to go get done out here in this digital world. Subject, however you're wanting to consume information, we want to make it available to you. And if you want to dig in and learn a lot more, you know, I'm kind of that guy. I always like to read and watch videos, but sometimes I just don't have all day. And it's kind of like, I don't want to watch an hour, but to consume 15, 20, or 30 minutes is a lot easier as well. Okay, on to the commentary I did this week. It's been an action-packed month so far. We've had a little of everything: GDP readings, inflation data, and jobs numbers. Oh, and there was an election last week. Obviously, the election was the biggest market mover last week. Markets moved way up midweek after Trump was declared the winner on Tuesday. In fact, it was the biggest post-election day return ever. Why the jump? Markets don't like uncertainty, and having the election behind us means we can eliminate uncertainty, and we know which policies will be put in place. One of the big things to note, however, is that it's not clear yet how those policies will be implemented or how long they'll take. Still, the market consensus is that some of Trump's policies, like lower taxes and deregulatory initiatives could support the economy, even as other policies could carry inflationary implications. The other big news last week was the Fed's rate cut of 0.25%. In his remarks, Fed Chair Jerome Powell noted inflation still remains higher than they'd like. He also said the Fed wouldn't be changing direction due to the results of the election. Instead, they'll take changes as they come and make rate decisions then. And then I always ended up, that's it for today. I'll be back in your inbox with more updates next week. So we do that on Facebook Live each week, and then we mail that out in an email to our database of clients, listeners, and those that's on our mailing list, so to speak, to give them that information. So it's something we try to get out there every week, and sometimes because of my commitments, I can't do it. So we're going to also have the team involved, and Nicholas is likely the one that will stand in for me in doing that as well. Some information I want to give you, and there's a number of things. We're excited about the book. Where's my book here? Well, I've got a few things I want to, let's see, I'm looking to see where I always like, here it is. Live radio, lost my book here. Retirement Deserves a Helpful Hand. It's not a bad read, shouldn't take you too long, but great information. Like it starts off with the importance of planning, longevity, taxes, market volatility, retirement income, Social Security, and several other chapters that will be helpful to you. And kind of it gets you to what is our core philosophy. And you want to get to know us a little bit before you maybe come in, or it's on your saying, yeah, I'm going to need somebody down the road. Okay, this is a way to get to know us, and even if you don't want to work with us, it's going to be a great read for you to increase your financial knowledge. You want a copy of the book? I'm going to do this for you today. It is available on Amazon. There's a digital copy as well that you can download over at Amazon. But I'll tell you this, call my office. We're going to send you the book. 504-832-9200. Tell them, or send an email, info@gregoryricks.com. Tell them you'd like a copy of the book. Hey, if you'd like a signed copy, tell them that too. We'll get you a book out. So reach out to the firm and ask for a copy of that book. I need you with that knowledge so you can build wealth for the future. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We'll be right back.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I started my retirement about 5 years ago, and I truly am late in life.
Would I be better to just withdraw the money out of my TSP and pay that mortgage off?
My problem is I have champagne tasting of your salary. What is a balloon note?
Is that cutting it too close?
So will I still be eligible for Medicare?
Is there anything better I can do with the money I transferred into the Roth from my 401k? My goal is to retire at age 60. I'm 54 right now.
Hey, I have a 9-year-old son, and he's got probably $2,500 in. Is there anything we can invest it in?
And I just started a 401k a little late in life.
Then that should be like 10%.
Now, how far in advance do you recommend that someone goes to visit the Social Security office?
I want some money in a casino playing poker.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mom, it stinks.
Hush, I'm almost done.
All right, now you're safe from bugs in the backyard. Don't let mosquitoes ruin your outdoor fun. Call Mosquito Joe today. When you call, they come out and they do the spraying. Mosquito Joe's time-release capsule lasts for about a month. No more sticky bug sprays. Take back your backyard. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
Hey, I love your show.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
At the core, I always tell people, I'm not here to make you rich. I'm here to make sure you don't run out of money, that you don't run out of income. That's how I look at my job. Over time, saving, making good decisions can make you rich. But what you have is, what is your core thing? Your core thing should be making money. And your core thing, you should set aside money to work elsewhere. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to put it to risk. You could put it to safety. But your core thing makes you money, or you tell me your core thing is the market, day trading, or gambling in the market. It shouldn't be. You should have a core thing that makes you money, and you peel some off for the future when you're done with your core.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
You're listening to Winning at Life. We bring this show to you every Saturday. Thanks for listening and joining us. You make a difference. Hopefully, we make a difference in your life as well. I came across this Barron's article the other day, and I'm going to share it with you in this segment as well. And if you want to probably put it in your search engine to take a look at it, is just kind of interesting. And I just reviewed it again on the break, but the title of the article is "My Pension Became an Annuity." Here's what I learned, and it's Alan Sloan, a writer, is an independent business journalist, 7-time winner of the Loeb Award. He starts out, one of the more interesting moves that companies are making these days is de-risking themselves by converting employees' pensions into annuities. While this maneuver reduces risks for companies, it creates a risk for pensioners. That's because pensions are guaranteed by the Federal Pension Benefit Guaranty Corp, or PBGC. While annuities are guaranteed only by the issuing insurance company. And even though state guarantee corporation-backed insurance companies, that's not the same as federal government guarantee. The reason he's taken us through this, because last week he got a notice from Graham Holdings, the former Washington Post company, that the pension he had earned during his days as the Wall Street editor of Newsweek and have been collecting for about a dozen years had been converted into an annuity from insurer MassMutual. A few years ago, Tribune, which owned his former employer Newsday, converted his pension into an annuity from F&G Annuities and Life. But that pension, which had also been collecting for about a dozen years, was only about a seventh of the size of his Graham pension. So we didn't pay much attention to it that change that happened because it didn't involve what he considered serious money. But when he got the note from Graham, he decided to see why companies are doing these conversions and to see what kind of risk the conversions pose to pension recipients like himself. Graham declined to comment, but when he parsed through some of Graham's Securities and Exchange Commission filings and combined what he had found there with the information that he had got from Tribune's owner, Nexstar Media Group, he realized that annuity for pension swap can not only involve serious money, but also simplify a company's operation considerably. So he shared with us from the company's view what's not to like, especially since the company can tell its pensioners that their income won't be affected by becoming annuitants. Now he takes us through some of the math from this change as well. So in the third quarter, from the first quarter IOQ filing, Graham said that converting approximately 1,800 pensions, including his, into mass mutual annuities generated about $700 million in pre-tax gains that will be reported in the fourth quarter. That was on top of the 2019 transaction that he hadn't heard about until he started looking around Graham's financials, a $91.7 million pre-tax gain from converting about 3,800 pensioners that time into mass mutual annuities. So you can see why Graham was interested in doing this. It generated about $800 million in pre-tax profits and still let it tell pensioners, as it did in its letter, that they won't be harmed by the conversion. That $800 million, which makes its way into income statements gradually, is more than pre-tax profit that Graham, a conglomerate whose holdings include Kaplan Education, Slate Magazine, TV stations, and car dealerships, has earned in any year since it renamed itself after selling the Washington Post to Jeff Bezos in 2013. Now to the operations question. Gary Weltzman of Nexstar Media's chief communication officer had told him in an email that converting Tribune pensions into annuities resulted in lower pension benefit guarantee corp premiums and admin fees for the pension plan. In addition, he was told life insurance companies do not have regulatory burden and fee structure that pension plans have. This helps the cost structure of the pension plan. Now to return to the risk question, it turns out that Mass Mutual has a higher credit rating than Graham. So you can argue that Graham de-risking itself may have de-risked him as well. But even though Mass Mutual has a near AAA credit rating, it's still not an arm of the federal government, which the PBGC is. Insurance companies have been known to fail, but the PBGC isn't subject to failing. A final note, though, he added, is I'm no longer a Graham pensioner. I still have a stake in the company's financial well-being because for about a dozen years he's been collecting payments about a third of the size of his pension from a Graham SERP, a supplemental executive retirement plan. Graham's deal with Mass Mutual didn't cover that plan, but even though SERPs aren't backed by any entity other than Graham Holdings, he's got confidence in Graham will keep on paying him. Here's one thing about the Guarantee Corp. That does, there's so many stories, and we see this where companies go bankrupt and can't continue those pension funds, and it gets turned over to the Guarantee Corp. And you know what happens? Those pension payments get slashed. So that wasn't addressed there, but the federal government backs that up, but they don't back them up and guarantee that your pension is going to be guaranteed up to 100%. I'm telling you, I see a lot of times those are backed out. But this is an article that goes on and shares with you about the impact of annuities and how annuities can be a great source of income. And when people are looking at risk investments versus risk off investments, that's why I'll just tell you, annuity is a great tool. And these aren't market annuities like a variable annuity where the assets are subject to market volatility. These are on the fixed side where that is guaranteed by the insurance company. And I'll tell you, I'm in the industry, and our firm is a dual licensed company. And I think you should work with dual licensed firms that also don't have a bias to the risk world or to the fixed world where there isn't market risk downside of your money. And because we can work both sides, we don't have a bias towards putting you in a certain area or like, oh, you should be in risk. If a client's looking for money put to work, guaranteed income, stable growth without assets going down in value, annuities are a great tool. And we as a dual licensed firm can work on that side as well as on the risk side. And I believe you're better off for having some mix of both worlds in your portfolio, because one of the things you have to worry about when you turn on income is negative sequence of returns. And that's the impact on your account that you're taking income from when volatility shows its head, and it could accelerate the spend down of your account. So I thought this was a great article, and one of the reasons when you're looking at part of the decision to take a pension, you're retiring and you've got a pension. Do I take the lump sum or do I take the pension? One of the things you have to think about, even with the Guarantee Corp that the government has that backs up those, you have to think about, is this company going to be around another 30 years? Is it going to survive? You really have to think about that aspect in the industry for that pension, where I think you have very high probability those annuity companies are going to be well into the future. We're going to take a short break, be back in 6 minutes with more of Winning at Life on iHeartRadio with Gregory Ricks.
From the Gregory Ricks and Associates Wealth Management Studios, WRNO-FM, New Orleans, an iHeartRadio station.
Level diplomacy. I'm Paul Stevens, Fox News. President Biden making one of his last international trips as chief executive in Lima, Peru.
It's not often the President of the United States makes an international trip and is not the guest of honor, and that's been afforded to Chinese President Xi Jinping. As Biden went to his hotel, China's president was feted at the state palace, the presidential palace, in the honor of a state visit, complete with a military honor guard and more red carpet. No question Biden's lame duck status playing a role here. Now, while at the palace, President Xi and Peru's president watched on a live feed the opening of China's new $1.3 billion megaport 2 hours north of where I'm standing here in Lima. Total Chinese investment is expected to top $3.5 billion over the next decade.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. China is Peru's largest trading partner. The second Trump administration is coming into shape less than 2 weeks after Election Day. Fox's Bill Maloogian breaks down the latest nominations from West Palm Beach, Florida.
He announced that his press secretary is going to be Caroline Levitt. She'll be handling the back and forth with the media at the podium. She'll be the youngest press secretary in history at just 27 years old. He announced that Stephen Chung is going to be his communications director. Chung did comms for Trump during his successful presidential campaign. And then he made it official with the announcement that North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum will be Secretary of the Interior. Now, some of the more controversial picks, the ones Democrats are kind of up in arms about, have been RFK Jr. as HHS Secretary, Matt Gaetz as AG, our colleague Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense, and Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence.
Meantime, President-elect Trump is expected to soon nominate his pick for Treasury Secretary. America's listening to Fox News.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network, the Fox News Rundown, a contrast of perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. Your daily dose of news twice a day, going far beyond the headlines, tapping into the massive reporting resources of Fox News to provide a full picture of the news of the day.
I'm Dana Perino.
I'm Brett Baer.
I'm Maria Bartiromo.
I'm Brian Kilmeade, and this is the Fox News Rundown.
Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts. From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
Hey, this is Trey Gowdy, host of the Trey Gowdy Podcast. Every Tuesday, you'll hear what's on my mind. Plus, every Thursday, there's a special bonus episode where we answer the questions that are on your mind. Make sure to spend your Tuesdays and Thursdays with Trey. Subscribe now at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts. Hope to see you.
America's listening to Fox News.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement increasing its surveillance of the southern border, getting ready for the switch at the White House.
ICE is not wasting any time. They made a swift move hours after a Donald Trump election victory, asking companies to submit bids for different technology and management tools to monitor illegal migrants. Now, these surveillance plans call for different things like ankle monitors, GPS trackers, biometric check-in technology, as well as human agents to track people awaiting a court hearing or even deportation. Now, although this would be an expansion of the current alternative to detention program, the president of the National Border Patrol Council says the timing of all this for this call to action was not a coincidence.
And that's Fox's Dana Marie McNichol. The alleged killer of Georgia student Laken Riley was in court this week. Fox's Chanley Painter.
On February 22nd, Jose Ibarra put on a black hat, a hoodie-style jacket, and some black kitchen-style disposable gloves. And he went hunting for females on the University of Georgia's campus.
Prosecutors say Riley fought for her life for nearly 18 minutes, a fight that left Jose Ibarra's DNA under her fingernails, prosecutors say, and where afterward he can be seen on surveillance video discarding a jacket with both his and Riley's DNA.
Now, if convicted, Jose Ibarra faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. The trial resumes on Monday. Israeli ground force.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
The program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love the show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Welcome to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. You've joined us in hour 3 of our Saturday show we bring to you every week. Show starts at 10. We roll till 1 o'clock, thereabout. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks, CEO, founder of Gregory Ricks & Associates, the Total Wealth Authority, advisors and retirement strategies that our firm has offices in South Louisiana and South Mississippi, yet we help families across the country. And I've been bringing you this show about money and making better financial decisions for over 14 years now. So if you want to join the conversation, you can do so through the Winning at Life app, text, email, call the show. Go ahead and download the Winning at Life app. The website is gregoryricks.com. You can email us info@gregoryricks.com. Or you could do as John from the South Shore has done. He called 504-260-0995. John, welcome to Winning at Life. How can we help you today?
Thank you. I have some stock, but it's very good stock. And it's had a good record for the past year and a half, and it has gone up considerably over the past 2 years, really. And it has dropped a little bit now. You know, it was at one time 115, and it's dropped to like 97. And I'm not sure everything's in this one stock. Because, you know, I've talked to the people you work with, and they were saying it's very good stock, but when it reaches a peak, that's when I want to have it switched over to safeguard it. You know, because I'm taking a chance with it, but it has been going up. And, you know, at my age, I wanted to just try and see what's the best way to move with this.
Is it in a company plan, IRA account, or is it a non-qualified holding?
It was through, I don't want to say the company on the air.
Yeah, you don't have to. It's just, is it inside of a qualified plan, or is it just stock holdings that you've acquired?
It's an ESOP.
Okay, so it's in a plan. So is it where you can sell that at this time?
No.
Okay. So what have we as a firm shared with you about that? So there are rules in with those ESOPs, and they are kind of complicated. Are you still working for the company?
No.
Okay.
But I held on to the stock because it's been going up. I wish I could have given you the name. You wouldn't have to say it over the air, but I'm sorry I didn't.
Yeah.
You know.
How long have you been into our office and spoke about it, or did you just call in, or have you been working with anybody?
I called, spoke to someone, and I told them I was going to try and see if it goes up, and it has been, and it went up pretty good. And the last week it went down. You know, it was, like I said, 115, and it dropped down to 97. And my brother has stock, and he said that's a glitch. He said he's dealt with stocks his whole life. I haven't. And he was saying it's going to go back up, but once it reaches a peak, you got to get it set to where you can move it over. You know.
Yeah.
And that's where you would come in.
Yeah, I know it's a bit complicated, so we can't really speak to it here on the show. But if you would email me, info@gregoryricks.com with a little bit of information.
I don't have an email or internet. I have a regular basic phone.
Okay. Well, then call the office and leave a message for me as well. And I'll be able to look into your notes of conversation because obviously if you've spoken with us in the past, at least to some extent, then there's going to be notes and information there. And that way, and you could just leave your information with us and we'll follow back up with you this coming week. And I'll look into that situation there.
Okay, because I had called. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Finish.
I'm good.
No, I had left a message to try and speak to you directly, but you were out of town or you were at a seminar or something. Because I know on the radio you were getting ready to do things, and that's why I wanted to, if we had time, to speak to you directly.
Okay, we can see if that happens for you.
I wish I could tell you the company and the shares I have in it.
Okay. Well, you can do that in the voice message. Even if you want to call the firm, there'll be somebody to take your call, and they'll make notes of information that I'll see as well. And we'll see about maybe we can speak next week from that.
The only thing I do know about it is that I've inquired about the company itself. I've never heard anything negative. That even, it has, when they looked into it, I spoke to someone from your firm, and when they looked into it, they said it has an excellent record. It does. But anything can happen at any time. And that's what they said, too. But they said so far, the projection, even in 2025, is very good. But you never know what's going to happen. The unthinkable can happen at any moment, right or wrong.
Yeah. Just looking at a little bit of information here online, regarding ESOPs, there's two ways of selling an ESOP-owned company, stock sale or an asset sale. The sale is structured as a stock sale. The trustee and other shareholders will ultimately decide whether or not to sell the shares. If it's an asset sale, the company is allowed to negotiate the sale, but the board might need shareholder approval depending on the state in which the business is located.
Right.
It is convoluted. We've dealt with this in the past, and there's some industries that do that because of company acquisitions or, where it's a employee-owned company, so to speak, and that's kind of what also controls that stock in that situation.
This is a company that does everything. Believe me, my brother couldn't believe it because they do everything. From military to contract, they do everything worldwide, everything. Is there any way I can call screener to leave at least the name of the company and the amount of stocks I have?
Yeah, can do that.
That would be helpful for me, for you to be able to look into something.
Okay, and and leave a phone number with the screener, David, if you would. We're going to end the call here on air with John and just take his information, and we'll get back to him this week from a firm standpoint. Thanks for calling, John. Appreciate you listening to Winning at Life. We're going to take a short break. Be right back.
Ask Gregory is the financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
My mother just inherited a couple of annuities.
If you could explain the difference between a government pension offset and a windfall elimination provision is.
You now make too much income to contribute to a Roth IRA.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
You all are so good.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
I would never hesitate to ever call them for anything else that we need.
I can't say enough good things about Dwayne Stein and his people at Mortgage Company.
I will never, ever do anything as far as a mortgage is concerned without contacting Dwayne Stein and his group again first.
Let's chat to learn what home loan options or programs
you may qualify for. No cost, no obligation, just answers. MortgageGumbo.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can hear the Ask Gregory podcast, where you'll find episodes based on a financial topic. So if you're looking for help on a specific situation, there's a good chance you'll find it on the Ask Gregory podcast, including episodes on 401ks, taxes, stocks, Social Security, gold, and whether or not you should buy an RV. Hear the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Half of estate planning is having a plan put together for your loved ones when you pass away. The other half of estate planning is dealing with someone else's plan when they pass away. Sometimes they have a great plan, but sometimes you need a little help. Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me, and we'll make sure you have a plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
If you do not have money set aside, you do not have retirement assets, you don't have significant savings, you're thinking, well, when should I turn on Social Security? I'll answer that for you right now. You should probably work as long as you possibly can and as much as you can, because that means you defer Social Security as long as you can up to age 70. And you can keep working past that. That's fine. But at age 70, you have to turn it on because you've maximized it there. And you've created the largest possible payment, and you're going to need all of that.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
I know everybody says money can't buy happiness, but it can buy me a boat. It can buy me a truck to pull.
Welcome to Winning at Life. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. Thanks for joining. If you would like to ask a question as well, 504-260-0995. I'll just tell you, we've dealt with ESOPs in the past, and basically those are a portion or all the company could be employee owned, and there is rules too. You know, like you've also got the tenure rule for ESOP. That's an example of must permit participants who have reached age 55 and completed 10 years of participation in ESOP the opportunity to begin diversifying their investments in company stock. Just have to look at his particular situation to help him with some guidance at some point, and he may well be able to reposition those assets. So, you know, one of the negatives of that is that's kind of like having all your money in one stock. We like diversification, but we just don't want to have all the money in one stock there, you know, because that puts you at the risk. And that's some of what his worry is about in that case. Let's talk about the markets this week a little bit. Stocks fell Friday following a solid retail sales report that could bolster the case that the economy is strong and may not need support in the form of lower borrowing costs. Separately, the Federal Reserve official said it was too soon to say whether the central bank should cut interest rates at its meeting next month, which will be their last meeting for 2024. Another rate cut in December is certainly on the table, but it's not a done deal, said Boston Fed President Susan Collins in an interview on Thursday. There's more data that we will see between now and December, and we'll continue to weigh what makes sense. All three major U.S. stock indexes finished the day in red. The NASDAQ composite fell for a fourth consecutive day and was down more than 0.3% for the week. The S&P 500 lost more than 2% on the week, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost more than 1%. So I guess a little bit of profit taking from the Trump winning the presidential race rally. The week marked a sharp reversal from the red-hot performance at the start of the month. In the previous week, stocks rose to new highs after Trump won the presidential election and the Federal Reserve cut rates by a quarter point. Stocks like that quarter point move for sure as well. The latest move highlighted investor uncertainty about whether the Fed is in a position to continue cutting rates as much as the markets have come to expect, in part because the economy continues to hold up well. On Friday, Commerce Department said retail sales gained 0.4% in October from September, better than economists' forecasts for a 0.3% increase. Officials also revised their figures for September sales growth sharply upward by 0.8% from initial estimate of 0.4%. Various speeches by Fed officials show growing concern that disinflation is hitting a wall. The Fed's next meeting is December 17th and 18th. Officials will see data on inflation and employment for November before that meeting. Collins said Thursday she didn't see any evidence that inflation was picking up due to new sources of strength in the economy, aligning herself with a view Fed Chair Jerome Powell expressed last week. Both of them suggested recent inflation stickiness has instead been an echo or catch-up effect of large price increases from the past few years, such as car insurance costs rising to reflect past increases in car prices that have since subsided. Been seeing a number of articles talking about the rate of auto insurance increasing. As far as I can tell, I do not see any evidence of new price pressures, Collins said. Firmer inflation in recent months instead reflects the effects of longer-term dynamics of past shocks, she said. So we'll continue watching that. Expectations in future markets for a December rate cut have bounced around in recent days. They've jumped to around 80% on Wednesday from 60% after the October consumer price index wasn't as bad as feared. But they fell back to 60% after Powell said Thursday that stout economic performance recently would allow the Fed to proceed carefully with rate cuts. So time will tell. We've got more data that will come in. That was sourced from Wall Street Journal, by the way, if you want to refer to that. I've got some talking points from Edge Tech Analytics here I want to share with you. So this was a recent update this week. In fact, it was an update yesterday I received. I kind of like time to time share some of these thoughts with you from Edge Tech. Stocks gave back some of its big gains made after last week's election. The S&P 500 hit its 51st new all-time high on Monday before retreating the rest of this week. All major indexes hit new highs with notable exception of the Russell 2000 index. The small cap index came within just 32 basis points of finally breaching its 2021 high, but has fallen every day since. As of Friday's close, it will be back down to negative 6% from its peak. Inflation comes in stickier. Rate cuts may not be as deep as numerous as expected. The behavior of volatile markets always follows the same pattern. Extreme moves in either direction are followed by similar moves in opposite direction. Mr. Market is prone to bouts of exuberance and gloom, each following the other in quick succession. The election of Donald Trump and Republican trifecta control of the White House and both chambers of Congress led stocks to enjoy their best week of the year. This week we got the come down. The market punished last week's enthusiasm with a reassessment and reversal. It's all familiar, normal market behavior. Extremes are corrected as the market inevitably returns to trading on fundamentals. Investors always come back to the same question: are companies growing earnings? And what is the potential for further growth given the current and prospective economic environment? And it is about company earnings and expectations of what earnings are going to be. On the former point, company earnings growth is positive so far for the recently reporting third quarter. As of right now, quarter three earnings growth is expected to have advanced 5.4% from a year ago. Looking ahead, earnings growth is expected to accelerate with rates of growth over 12% through the first half of 2025. On the latter point, economic growth is anticipated to be more of the same, steady expansion that neither is too hot nor too cold. Many things, however, could change this economic outlook for better and for worse. Let's look at a couple notes here. Inflation, the last leg of inflation's trip back down to 2% is proving to be more stubborn than the initial drop, and a resurgence of higher prices would be devastating to growth. Rates, we have been much more conservative than the market in our expectation of Federal Reserve cutting interest rates. We see no reason to deviate from this perspective. The Fed has a difficult job to do, and Chair Powell and company are going to continue to tread slowly and carefully with the rate cuts. And the last point I'll make for you here with this is politics. We hope that the market has learned a lesson from President Trump's first term, look past the chaos, shock appointments, mean tweets, and focus on policy. An extension of the first term's tax cuts and policy of deregulation are unabashed pro-growth policies that can bolster both corporations and consumers. And the past 2 weeks have seen the market calibrate its expectations. These calibrations are noisy and volatile, and it is important to ignore the noise and focus on fundamentals and big picture. So hopefully that helps. I've got some, I want to talk when we come back from the break, 15 critical money talks every parent must have before retiring. Are you retiring? You might want to stay tuned for the next segment. We're going to take a short break here. Be back, I guess, in about 3 minutes. This is Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
The program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet? Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to GregoryRicks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks & Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services. Offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC. Gregory Ricks & Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, or you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Cancer Crusaders has been raising funds for cancer research in New Orleans since 1978. Cancer Crusaders Incorporated is a non-profit, all-volunteer organization with no administrative overhead. Cancer Crusaders has raised over $5 million for the local cancer research centers, LSU Stanley S. Scott Cancer Center and Tulane Cancer Center in New Orleans, where they are working on a cure for cancer. Get involved, donate, volunteer, or attend a fundraiser. Visit us at cancercrusadersla.org.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
News, I'm Jack Callahan. President-elect Trump naming Caroline Leavitt to be his White House press secretary.
And previously served in the Trump White House as an assistant press secretary. Mr. Trump releasing a statement saying, quote, Caroline is smart, tough, and has been proven a highly effective communicator.
Fox's Kevin Corke. Leavitt will also be the youngest person ever to hold the job as White House press secretary. President Biden meeting with China's President Xi in Peru today after a meeting yesterday with South Korea's president and Japan's prime minister.
I truly believe cooperation of our countries will be the foundation to peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific for many years to come.
Tomorrow, the president visits the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, becoming the first president ever to do so. America is listening to Fox News.
Winning at Life. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. If you're looking for some in-person guidance, sounding board, want to talk about potential retirement, help with investing, or how to become more risk-off, conversation is okay as well. You can reach out to our office. There's only one number to call. We can do Zoom meetings, or you can come into any of our offices, Gulfport, Mississippi, Metairie, Louisiana, Mandeville, Louisiana, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana office. Also, or simply just start with a phone conversation if you wish. I'll tell you, it's a safe place. You don't have to become a client. You don't have to move forward. Just want you to understand that. There's not going to be any pressure. Nobody's going to try to get you to become a client, like lock the door, keep them in here until they decide. No, nobody's going to do that. It's a safe place. If you don't come back again, it's okay. But it's a fit visit. And from our standpoint, we want to bring value, and that's the objective. And we always act in your best interest. You know, the fiduciary rule is kind of a statement of that, of acting in your best interest. And people ask if we are that or whatever. Well, under DL rules regarding qualified money, we are required to act in your best interest. And on any situation that we're working with you on or you asking about, we will act in your best interest. And if there's any conflicts, those will be disclosed because we're required to do that as well. There's not anything underneath or we're going to hide or whatever. We're going to give you full disclosure if there's any conflict. And I'll share, there is one conflict that's easy and it's always there, is you pay us to help you if we go forward. And basically that's typically that is a fee from the assets that are under management, or could well be a commission as well. So that is always one conflict that's always there because we have to get paid. But we will give you help, guidance, and advice if necessary. Even if it's not a fit and we can't go forward, we will give you guidance to help you move forward as well from that standpoint. So hopefully that helps you a little bit there, but there's no pressure to come in and kick the tires, so to speak. And if you want to move forward, you can set another meeting. If you don't want to move forward, you want to think about it for months on end, you can do so as well. There's one number to call, no matter what office, how you want to start going forward, just one number to remember. It's 504-832-9200. Somebody will take your call right now if you wish. You can email to start that also by info@gregoryricks.com, or go to the website. There's a chat box as well, but go search around the website. We've got a new one our new website should be updated in the next couple weeks. I'm told we're very close to having that done. Another new thing we're doing is the Advisor Lounge that we're doing every Friday at 2:30, where a couple of the advisory team members will sit and kind of have a casual chat about some thoughts, things that might help, what's been going on from that standpoint. Brandon Blanchard, one of the advisors at Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority, called in and kind of shared. And one thing he wants to share is it's not a market update. We're not giving you market information from that, but it's more financial planning thoughts, ideas to help you, maybe some lessons, some stories told there, and they'll answer questions. But that'll be done every Friday, 2:30, subject to holidays and such. But so most of the time it's going to be there. It's going to last somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes. It caps at 30 minutes. And if you'd want them to answer questions, you can kind of email that in some questions, as well as you'll be able to go to our YouTube channel and view those segments as well, and those bite-sized pieces that we're going to be doing. Or for our educational events, we're going to roll out webinars next year that we're planning to do, and the advisor team and analysts will be involved in that. So you're going to see more faces than just mine or my voice on everything. So that's a couple of ideas we've got going for next year to expand what we're doing. Oh yeah, I forgot. There's a TV show rolling out that is where it's going to be out in 3 markets next year. It'll be Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Gulfport, Mississippi, and the New Orleans metro area. That show's rolling out. I believe it's starting in January. Don't hold me to it, but I'm pretty sure it is. And I'm also filming 6 more episodes this week. Here's something I want to talk to you about. Let's see, did I cover everything there? Yeah, I'll cover show sponsors next segment. I had that on my list. They're nudging me. Don't forget to give them a shout out, so I'll do that. Here's something I think's important, and this is one where we talk about it from an estate planning standpoint a lot of times, but this article from Kiplinger talks about it from retiring standpoint, and they've got this noted as 15 critical money talks every parent must have before retiring. See, they say here, don't retire without discussing these 15 vital money topics with your kids. You know, retirement's a big step. And we kind of recommend having open, honest discussions about your finances, estate plans, retirement goals with your children. You know, you should have a talk, and in one sense is to make sure they feel okay that you're going to be okay. You've got money coming in. You have a plan going forward. And if you die, there's a plan for that as well. I'll share a thought here along with that. Something we're making a push on at the firm is making sure there's a contact person. If something should happen, like, for example, we can't reach Joe or Jane, and one of the things when we realize we can't reach you is because we touch clients every quarter just to check in with both in the household, see how things are going, if there's any updates or adjustments on their next annual meeting and so forth. We're always doing a touch basis, see how things are going and see if there's any questions or concerns. If we're not able to reach them, we follow up with an email on that. But if it becomes apparent that we've not been able to reach them or communications have dried up, you know, one of the things is we've also seen this in the past where all of a sudden some things just kind of are weird. Like Fred showing up for a meeting and there was no meeting scheduled. You know, just some strange stuff. So what we're also looking for, and we had one of those scenarios a while back, and then it just seems some confusion in the household. And one of the things is they didn't have children. So there was no children bennies or contact person. So what we do now is if something like that's going on, we want a family member contact to reach out to, kind of saying, hey, we hadn't been able to reach them, or we have some concerns. Can you check in on them? And that's kind of important. Now, they're not going to know anything about your information or something, but we think it's important to have that contact for just in case, what if? So think about that as well. And if you work with us, think about that, because we're gonna ask for a contact, and hopefully it never comes to that, but what if it did? So one of the things on the 15 points they give is of these critical money talk points. Darn, it's break time. Okay, well, this works fine. When we come back, I'm going to roll through in our last segment. I guess that'll be our last part of the talk today when we come back from the break. I'll cover our sponsors and then get into these 15 steps with you to wrap up the show here today. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks on iHeartRadio.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I started my retirement about 5 years ago, and I truly am late in life.
Would I be better to just withdraw the money out of my TSP and pay that mortgage off?
My problem is I have champagne tasting of your salary. What is a balloon note?
Is that cutting it too close?
So will I still be eligible for Medicare?
Is there anything better I can do with the money I transferred into the Roth from my 401k? My goal is to retire at age 60. I'm 54 right now.
Hey, I have a 9-year-old son, and he's got probably
$2,500, and is there anything we can invest it in?
And I just started a 401k a little late in life.
There must be like 10%.
Now, how far in advance do you recommend that someone goes to visit the Social Security office?
I want some money in a casino playing poker.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mom, it stinks.
Hush, I'm almost done. All right, now you're safe from bugs in the backyard. Don't let mosquitoes ruin your outdoor fun. Call Mosquito Joe today. When you call, they come out and they do the spraying. Mosquito Joe's time-release capsule lasts for about a month. No more sticky bug sprays. Take back your backyard. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
Hey, I love your show.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
At the core, I always tell people, I'm not here to make you rich. I'm here to make sure you don't run out of money, that you don't run out of income. That's how I look at my job. Over time, saving, making good decisions can make you rich. But what you have is, what is your core thing? Your core thing should be making money. And your core thing, you should set aside money to work elsewhere. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to put it to risk. You could put it to safety. But your core thing makes you money, or you tell me your core thing is the market, day trading, or gambling in the market. It shouldn't be. You should have a core thing that makes you money, and you peel some off for the future when you're done with your core.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
And a little bit of chicken fried. Cold beer on a Friday night.
Thank you for listening to Winning at Life today. Remember our sponsors that make this show possible. Dwayne Stein of MortgageGumbo.com, Jude Heath of J. Heath Company CPAs, Wesley Blanchard, W.J. Blanchard Law. Any of those three, if you can't, well, what's their phone number, website? If that wasn't enough, just go to my website or always call my office, and we will help you reach any of the show sponsors that I mentioned here. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com. You know, I don't like mosquitoes, but I like Mosquito Joe because they help me with that problem. Spitali's Deli and Catering over in Metairie. Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority Advisors and Retirement Strategies. Bistro Byron's of Mandeville, and DNL Air Conditioning at 504-416-1951. And last but not least is JJSAudioVideo.com. We use them for, I personally have used them for sound systems, security systems regarding video, and more. Great help there as well. That's JJSAudioVideo.com. All the sponsors, if you use them, do this. Say, hey, I heard about you on Gregory's show. Tell them Gregory sent you. So that's a big help. Okay, 15 critical money talks every parent must have before retiring. One is general retirement plan. Before you retire, it's essential to share the basics of your retirement plan with your adult children. Discuss your retirement age, anticipated income sources, and your plans for spending your time. You can go in as much detail as you want or as little, but help them understand, and maybe it can be teaching moments for them, for your children to learn from what you're doing. This helps them understand your financial expectations and how they might impact their lives. By knowing your retirement goals, your children can better prepare for any financial or caregiving roles they may need to take on. And this is real easy conversation if you've got a great retirement situation. But if you don't, and make sure that they understand that if you're going to struggle and things are going to be tight, make sure they understand that. Not that you're having the conversation to ask for money, but they need to know what's going on from that standpoint as well. It can help them prepare for financial or caregiving roles they may need to take on, so it isn't a surprise. Estate planning documents. Your estate planning documents are a legal backbone of your financial future. Make sure you have your will, trust, power of attorney, and other documents that are up to date and easily accessible. We talked about this the other night at the estate planning session that we had for the public. And one of the things is, don't go hide it, your will and documents to where nobody can find it. And I don't think it should be locked up in some safety deposit box across town. You can get it in a fireproof box, but it also needs to be something that can be open, that they can find if something happens to one or both of you. It's not top secret, and let somebody you trust know, hey, we've got this and this is where it's located in the house should something happen. Inform your children where these documents are kept. It's crucial that they can access them during emergencies and understand their contents. Sometimes I get this phrase, well, it might be uncomfortable. They're not going to necessarily like how I'm handling things. Well, then they really do need to know from that standpoint. Estate plan breakdown. Openly discuss your estate plan with children is one of the most important conversations you can have. Being transparent about your assets, who gets what, and any charitable intentions can prevent family disputes. I really want you to help the family with that so they don't have to deal with that and have an argument. And if it's going to be disproportionate, prepare them for that. Sometimes we have blended families. That surviving spouse may not be their mom, but has quite a bit of control. You may need to clear the air on all of that. If you have a financial advisor, introduce that advisor to your children. This step provides your children with a valuable resource on information on investment strategies, financial goals, and your overall financial plan. We as a firm are wanting to be proactive on that. And at some point they should come in and have a discussion because they know you're in good hands. Because one time, and I've felt this vibe in the past where somebody dies or the family, the surviving parent is up in age, maybe slowing a little bit. And then one of the kids comes in for that talk of introduction and they're very skeptical. They even, I pick up that vibe that they think we're up to no good or whatever, and that they just don't understand. And that's when we want to be proactive, that the air is cleared on that this introduction is made before we get into a worry situation with the family. If you've got life insurance policy, make sure You share the details with your children so they don't have to go hunting. I hear these stories like we are having to go through all the financials the past couple of years, see if there was paying for life insurance. If you don't have it, tell them it's not. But otherwise, that information is where the other documents are. Senior care. Discuss plans for senior care with your kids. Do you intend to age in place, move to a retirement community, or explore other options? Your kids should know your preferences and plans. Tell them what you're wanting to do, what you're planning to do, which might be important in your care and your remaining finances. Tell them this money's meant to take care of us. And sometimes I have to tell them, you need to prepare to spend some of that money. They're like wanting to conserve it. And you tell them, no, this is our money. This is to take us, and hopefully some's left over. Long-term care. One critical discussion topic for seniors and their adult children is long-term care insurance. You need to talk to them about that. Do you have that or do you not? And if you do, explain the benefits, limitations, any gaps in that, or even if there isn't any whatsoever. Medical directives. Discuss your medical or advanced healthcare directives with your children. It's vital for ensuring your health care preferences are respected in the event you are unable to make those decisions. Conversations about the living wills, power of attorney for health care, and do not resuscitate orders can be emotionally challenging, but that provides your family with clear guidance. Burial or cremation plans, how to handle the funeral, what plans you have in place. Tax planning, you need to cover that with them. Inheritance expectations. Charitable giving, if you have any of that planned. Family heirlooms, sentimental items. Digital estate planning, long-term financial stability. Have the discussion. Thank you for joining me at Winning at Life today. Y'all have a great weekend. Join us here next Saturday for more information, or go to GregoryRicks.com.